it's Liv and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hi, I'm Liv, nice to meet you. So for today's video, we're doing the books that I want to read before the end of 2019. If you guys don't know, 2019 is almost over. Like, it's the end of October, Halloween's in like a week and a half. I don't know where the time has gone, but soon after that will be Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and then we'll be partying our way into 2020. What? So with that being said, there's a lot of books that I still really want to read before the year is done. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So without further ado, let's get into this video and see what books I plan on reading before 2019 is done. Okay, so the first book I have on this list is a book that I have seen so many people talk about, more so last year than this year, so I'm a little late on the hype train, but it is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I don't know much about this book, honestly. I know it's about a girl named Jude who she's like kidnapped as a child with her sister, I believe, and taken to like the land of the Fae, but I guess like the Fae don't like humans, and so Jude is like finding her place among them, and something about a cruel prince. That's really all I know about this, but I hear so many people talk about this. So many people loved this book last year, I believe, so I'm excited to finally get to this and see what all the hype is about. I've never actually read a Holly Black book before, so I'm very excited. Okay, and the next book here is the conclusion to one of my favorite series of the year thus far, which is Finale by Stephanie Garber, the last book to Caraval. If you don't know what Caraval is about, it is essentially about these two sisters named Scarlett and Donatella, and they live in this world where their father is very cruel, and there's like this like magical game called Caraval, who is put on by this guy named Legend, but he's almost like a god to them. Like, no one knows what he truly looks like. No one has really ever seen him, but he puts on this game called Caraval once a year, and Scarlett really wants to go. So her sister like convinces her to leave the island, go to Caraval, and the sisters are split up. And Scarlett knows that the only way to save her sister is to win the game, because the winner receives a wish. That first book blew me away. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it was one of my favorites of the year thus far. It was the first book I read in 2019, and I was obsessed with it, honestly, so I'm not sure why I haven't picked up the third one yet. I have tried. I've gotten like 40 pages into it, and then again, as per usual, I put it down and did not pick it back up and forgot everything, so I'm definitely about to restart this soon and hopefully be able to speed right through it. Okay, and the next up is another book that was really popular last year that I'm just late for, but it is Scythe by Neil Shusterman, which actually it was probably like 2 years ago that this was really big, because I know the third and final book is just about to come out if it's not out already. But this book is about, I guess in the world, they learned how to kind of conquer death, and the only way to die is to be gleaned by a scythe, and it is about these two characters, Citra and Rowan, and like I think they're training to become scythes, which sounds really interesting. I've heard so many people rave about how good these books are, so I really need to get through this. But I'm very excited to just one day just like probably like lock myself in my room, sit down with this book, and just work my way through it, because it sounds like everything I have ever wanted in a book and more, and so I am ready to be blown away. Next up is actually a trilogy, and it's books that I have talked about for a really long time about wanting to read, but still have not managed to do so, and it is the Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, starting with Shadow and Bone, which I am further than I was a couple months ago when I like restarted it, but I'm not that much further. I don't know why this has taken me so long to get into. This is another one that I finally just need to like sit down and read through it, because when I sit down and read through it, I really enjoy it. I like the writing style a lot. I like Alina, even though she's kind of like the main like 2012 YA protagonist, but that's fine because I'm a sucker for all those, like Katniss Everdeen, Selena Sardathian, hi. But they're turning these into a TV show soon, and like they just announced the casting, and Ben Barnes plays the Darkling, which honestly, like, he is kind of how I picture the Darkling. I'm so sorry if you can hear whatever that sound is. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's a skateboard. It's a skateboard. But I really need to get through these and then the Six of Crows duology for when the show comes out, so I can watch it and enjoy it and be so excited, because I'm excited, but I've still never read these, so I mean, I need to change that. And the next book is again the first in a trilogy that I need to finally pick up, and it is Renegades by Marissa Meyer, which I know it's about superheroes, which is like totally up my alley. Like, I'm a huge Marvel fan. And so, like, I know I'm going to love this. I don't know why I've never actually read a Marissa Meyer book before. I have owned Cinder since it first came out, and I have never once picked it up, which should probably also go on this list, but I might put it off until 2020. But let's say 2020 is the year that I will finally read the Lunar Chronicles. I just want to speak that into existence right here. I'm gonna do it. And so I need to get through these two. And so let's just say by the end of 2020, I want to have read all of Marissa Meyer's books. I think it's a goal I can reasonably do. So again, speaking into existence, this is gonna happen, but I do want to try to finish these before the end of 2019. Okay, next up is actually a series of I think about 7 books, but they're short, so maybe I can get through at least a few of them before the year is up, and it is the Disney Twisted Tales. The Disney Twisted Tales are about, they take like a central plot point in like the classic fairy tales that we all know and love, and it switches it to see how the story would play out. So for example, this is the first book here, A Whole New World by Liz Braswell, and it is what if Aladdin had never found the lamp? So it's Aladdin and Jasmine, however, Jafar found the lamp and rose to power, and it's them trying to take him down, I guess. So out of the 7, I believe there's like Aladdin, Little Mermaid, the Frozen one just came out, I know, and that one sounds really good. There's like a Mulan one, Beauty and the Beast. There's so many that I mean, like, I'm sure there's something for everyone, and I know these series don't really interact because it's the Disney fairy tales, so I'm sure you don't have to read them in order, but I am, just because I'm a sucker for a little bit of order in my life because it's chaotic as it is. And I am going to Disneyland with my friend Ashlyn in December, so I would love to have at least a few of these under my belt before we go, just so I can have like that much bigger of an appreciation, because they're retellings and I love retellings and I love like the what if stories, so I know I'm gonna absolutely love these. Next up is something long overdue, and it is actually a series that I have read half of, but I want to finish it, and it is The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I have City of Fallen Angels here for reference because that is the next book in the Mortal Instruments that I need to read, and City of Lost Souls is somewhere back at my house in Illinois, and I don't actually have City of Heavenly Fire yet, so I need to get that to complete the collection. I started City of Bones when I was 12 years old. I was in 7th grade. I am 21 now, so I really need to finish these, get these out of the way. But I'm really starting to love them. Like, this is when I feel like Cassie's writing style is really improving. I'm currently reading Clockwork Princess, and I'm mind blown by it. It's completely like, it's everything I wanted in a Shadowhunter book and more, because I hear so many people talk about how good the books are as they progress, and so I'm finally kind of delving into that territory, and I'm really loving this journey. So these I'm sure I'll be able to get to before the end of the year. Okay, the next book I have on this list is Cersei by Madeline Miller. Can we talk about first how gorgeous this cover is and like how shiny it is, because I love shiny things. So I am kind of going into this blind because as much as I read the inside flap here, it confuses me and I don't really know how to put it into words, but it's basically that like it's the Greek mythology story of Cersei and like Cersei's Island, which I am obsessed with Greek mythology, if you know me, and again how I talk about the Percy Jackson books in like every single video. I am a huge sucker for Greek mythology, but I haven't read like a book like this probably ever, I don't think. So this one I'm very excited for and will definitely be reading probably sometime in the middle of November. I can picture like the cozy feel. It's autumnal because it's like a coppery gold. Again, shiny, beautiful. I'm really excited to read this. And speaking of cozy fall reads that I really want to get to, the next book I have here is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin, which I'm sure you've heard of this. This has been blowing up lately and it's been everywhere. I finally gave into the hype and bought it because everyone's been talking about it. But it is basically the story of Louise LeBlanc, and she's a witch who has escaped her coven, and something happens and she ends up in a marriage with Reed Diggory, who is a witch hunter. That's about all I know of the story. I'm kind of going into it blind. I've read the first chapter. I kind of broke my rule about not starting new books, but oh well. I've started it, so now it counts as a book that I've started but not finished. It's very French. The first chapter that I read had a lot of like French terminology and stuff that I actually wasn't aware was in here, so I'm very excited to see how this progresses. I've heard some mixed reviews, but most of them are pretty solid, pretty good, so I think this is something I'm really going to enjoy, and I'm really excited to get further into it. And the last book on the list here is another one that BookTube made me buy, and it is Salt to the Sea by Brutus Pettis. I don't know much about this, but I know how it has made people feel. I think Hannah from A Clockwork Reader said on Goodreads that she's never felt so angry and sad at a book at the same time. Every person I've seen review this book has absolutely loved it. It is, I believe, about a group of refugees after World War II trying to get to safety. This is not my normal style of book, as you could probably guess, because I'm pretty sure all of the other ones on here were YA fantasy, with the exception of the Disney Twisted Tales, but even that's kind of YA fantasy in a way. So yeah, very different, kind of out of my comfort zone, but I'm currently doing a reading challenge, and it was like a year-long reading challenge, had like 50 different prompts, and one of them was to read a book with the word salt in the title. So Salt to the Sea was kind of like, it was a given. When I found it on the shelf at the bookstore, I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot, see what people talk about. So this is definitely one that I will be getting to before the end of the year. All right, and there you have it, guys. As you can tell, I've got quite a bit of reading to do before the year is out. I really hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and comment down below what's a book that you are determined to get to before the end of 2019. I really want to know. I'm really determined to get to all of these before the end of 2019, so we'll see if that happens. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and click that bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I am currently uploading once or twice a week on this channel. Your girl's been doing pretty well with the updates, so a lot of exciting stuff coming up and you don't want to miss it. As always, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye guys.